We'll move on and we can talk about Everton, Pete. Now, can you give us the latest update, please, on Everton's current situation with 777 partners and this ongoing takeover that doesn't seem to end?
There's no change. It's just ongoing from one crisis to the next, I think, with this potential takeover from 777 partners. Obviously, the Everton owner, Farhad Moshiri, has extended the deadline until the end of May to see if 777 partners can come up with the money and get this deal over the line. As we've said previously, I don't see it for the life of me that this can get agreed. There's just too much scaremongering. There's too many red flags for this to happen with the other clubs that 777 partners are involved in right now. It's dragged on since September time. So, yeah, I don't think this deal is going to happen. So I think there will be other potential bidders in the background. I would imagine there's a lot of American consortiums looking at Everton as a really interesting option for them to maybe get involved in English football. You've got the whole new move to the Bramley Moore Dock Stadium as well, I think, again, which will give Everton a real foothold to try and sort of boost their revenues and close the gap on the rest of the leading pack in the Premier League as well. Yeah, I think for Everton right now and Farhad Moshiri, the best thing you can do right now is walk away from this deal and really move to get a new owner in as soon as possible, because Everton don't want to be going into next season with this still hanging over them. That would be a disaster, I think, for the club, because it's going to affect their recruitment this summer. No doubt about that, if they've got huge debts hanging over them as well. So they really need to have a rescue act lined up, ready to come in, because the 777 partners deal has been a nightmare for everybody involved, and it's not been a good look for Everton, Farhad Moshiri or anybody else, and definitely not a good look for 777 partners either.
I mean, Paul, why do you think Moshiri is so insistent on getting this deal done? Is it down to the length of time taken and the fact that it's quite embarrassing, really, if it doesn't happen? Why do you think it is still just going on for Everton?
You don't understand here, but I think the fact that they just keep taking the loans as well. They're at a point they're having to take loans to keep the club going. It's a week-to-week, day-to-day basis to pay wages and to keep the club afloat. I think it was £16 million last time that they took. Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the last loan that they took. And it seems to be a constant stream. But then you question, if 777 aren't going to buy, why does the company keep putting money into the club on a loan basis? It's just a strange situation. And as I've said before, we get mushroomed sometimes, and we get told what people want us to hear and what certain parties want us to hear. And by mushroom, they get kept in the dark and fed a load of rubbish, and our mushrooms grow. And that's eventually sometimes how fans get treated. You don't get to find out the real truth. If your club's up for sale, like Moshiri wants to sell the club, of course you want to sell it as quickly as you possibly can. But actually, at the same time, if it's not happening, the way in which you go about it, you'd question them taking more and more loans without money coming from other sources. It's a real mess, and it has been for a long time. And the biggest thing for me is you look at it from an Everton fan's point of view, from a neutral fan's point of view, it's not an attractive proposition. If you're looking to buy a football club, you look at the mess and the saga, what they've been in for so long, but look at the debt that they're now carrying as well. So any potential owner that's got to come in, if I was an owner, if I was looking at Everton, I'd be thinking, I'll just leave that running. I wouldn't be too bothered about going in and buying it straight away. I'll wait till it goes into administration and pick it up for next to nothing when you wipe the debt. I mean, there's so many different scenarios that club could face in the next 6 to 12 months. The sooner a takeover can be done, the better. I mean, a prospective owner is now going to have to come in and saddle a whole lot of debt, as well as put money into the club to keep it running and build a stadium. It's the longer it goes, the less attractive it's getting for somebody.
Pete, we've seen some of the other clubs owned by 777. Some of their fans have been protesting against their owners. How worrying is that for Evertonians? I know we've discussed on here about Bonza Airlines and Vasco da Gama, but recently Red Star FC in Paris protested on social media. Should Evertonians be concerned about the takeover if it is to happen?
Yeah, of course. There's no smoke without fire, as I say, and obviously all these other clubs that are owned by 777 partners aren't happy with the ownership that they're giving to their clubs right now as well. Obviously, we've seen Standard Liège players weren't getting paid on time either. That would be a massive concern as well if that started to happen at Everton, if 777 partners did eventually get this takeover deal done. I just think really for Everton right now, it's just going to lead to disaster if they don't make a quick decision, because administration will be the last thing that Everton really want to consider right now. They've ended up losing all their players on the cheap, and they'll be starting from scratch again right now as well. And as I said, there's more and more American influence coming into the Premier League. I've got a feeling that there is probably a consortium out there ready to move for Everton as soon as Moshiri does finally decide to pull the plug on this one. I'm sure he's not that foolish just to have no backup plan, no contingency plan in place if 7-7 partners don't get this deal done. To be fair to Moshiri, it's probably been a masterclass for him because he's getting the club funded by somebody else right now. It's not coming out of his own pocket. So in that respect, he's saving himself a lot of money. But as I said, it's just not a good look. And surprised the Premier League have let it drag on as much as this as well. If they have got concerns over 7-7 partners being a legitimate owner and a legitimate shareholder in the Premier League as well, decisions have got to be made sooner rather than later because it's not doing Everton any good. Sean Dyche doesn't know what transfer budget he's going to have to work with this year, what players he might have to sell, administration possibly hanging over the club as well if the worst does happen. So, yeah, really messy situation. And you got to feel for the new Everton fans and all of this, really, because they probably see all the scaremongering of the other clubs that 7-7 partners are involved in, and they're probably fearing the worst that it could happen to them as well.
I mean, talking on that, Pete, you mentioned their administration, players going. Is there any transfer news? I know we discussed last week about the fact that, Sean Dyche is working with about 14 budgets going into the summer. It sounds like we might know Jared Brandtwaite's potential price. Are there any exits we're expecting from Goodison Park this summer?
Yeah, I think there will be exits. Sean Dyche has openly admitted that, I think, as well as Kevin Thelwell, the director of football, has admitted that they're going to have to cut their cloth. Everton want to keep Jared Brandtwaite if they can for at least one more season. They're trying to convince him to stay. So I think they're looking to maybe sell other sellable assets before him. I do expect Amadou Onana to move, even potentially before the June 30th deadline. My understanding is that 5 European clubs have made inquiries for him. So Everton are quite confident that they have got buyers for the Belgian international. PSG and Bayern Munich are two of those clubs, and I think they're ready to make a move from. So Everton probably holding out for around 50 million or so for him, and if they can get that money for him, that will go a long way to balancing the books at Everton before the June 30th deadline for filing the accounts, and that will enable them maybe to keep hold of their other best players, the likes of Brandtwaite, Pickford, Dwight McNeil, Calvert-Lewin. They think one big sale could be enough for them this summer, and Onana could be the sacrificial lamb for that.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.